Good morning.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah. So I'm Samiha, right? So I'll be your lecturer for this particular program, right? So you can hear me clearly, right?
yes,
Okay, right. So then we're ready to go. So can you just tell me a little about yourself so that it will be better?
yeah.
Hello?
I'm
Yeah.
Razmina Rizvi.
Okay.
I,
Where are you from?
I uh, I'm from Colombo Mirania Street,
Okay.
and I have
Right.
done my
So
O
you,
levels,
yeah.
and I'm waiting for my results.
Oh, okay, right. And you basically, I heard you've also done the foundation, right? You
Yes,
did the foundation program in early childhood, is it?
yes.
Okay. Was it teacher training or early childhood education?
It was early childhood education.
Early child. Okay, right. So you have some background knowledge, I believe. Okay. Right. So let's start. Okay. And if you can't hear me, if there's any technical issues or anything of that sort, you could always, tell me. Okay. If there's
Okay.
anything you don't understand, you could just tell me. Okay. Feel free.
Okay.
Right. So I don't know if I could share the screen. Let me see. Okay. Can you see the screen?
Yes,
Yeah. You are Razmina, right? Yeah.
yes,
Razmina, can you see the screen?
yeah,
Okay. It's visible, right?
yeah.
Okay. So now this is basically the diploma in early childhood education, right? So you have 10 modules, okay? As you can see on your screen, you basically have 10 modules and you have to do a teaching practice, right? That is a practical session where you have to teach. I don't know how far like that is going to work, especially because of the pandemic these days, but we'll see to that, right? So basically you have 10 modules as you can see on the screen. Okay. You can just, I'll give a few minutes, you could just go through the modules. You can see the screen, right?
Yeah.
So today will basically be like just a run through, just an introduction to the whole course. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So these are the modules that you have: philosophy, history, then child development for from 0 to 3 to 4 to 8 years, then observation, assessment, and evaluation, then classroom management and positive guidance, curriculum planning, right? And it goes on. Okay. Uh, so yeah. So since your course is mainly about early childhood education, let's focus a little on that. And since you have also done the foundation on that, you will have a rough idea, I believe, right? So when we say early childhood education, what is your idea on that? What do you think it is about? Now, this is going to be a two-way session, right? It's not only going to be like only me talking and you listening. It has to be like a two-way session where you also come up with your ideas. Only then it will be better, right? So yeah, can you just give me an idea that you have about early childhood education? What is your idea? What do you think it is about? Anyway, it's there on the screen. Yes, Razmina?
It is the students who are in nursery grade.
Okay, right. So, yeah, okay. What else? Anything else? Early
and
childhood. Yeah.
and because they are small kids, we have to handle them carefully.
Yes. Yes, as teachers. Yeah. So when we say early childhood, we the first thing that comes to our mind is kindergarten, right? Or nursery kids. That is what we all, that's the idea, right? We think early childhood is, yeah. So, but actually, early childhood, now some scholars say it's children from birth up to the age of 5, but some say it also, includes children who are like from birth until the age of 8, right? So if they're 8, it means probably like grade 3, right? So it varies. Basically there's no specific, but generally, yeah, as we kind of tend to believe early childhood is more to do with kindergarten children, but it varies, right? It's also from children from birth up to the age of 5, or according to some scholars they say it goes until the age of 8. Okay. So so and early childhood, that period is something very important for children, right? Why do you think it is important? Yes, any idea? Rasmina?
Yes.
Yeah, why do you think, now there's here early childhood education, that that period is something very important for students, for children? Why do you think it is important? Basically because now it is considered to be a foundation. Okay. Now, because early childhood, that is the beginning of your life, right? That period, say from birth until 5 or until 8 years. So that period is more like the foundation for your future development, right? So
Okay.
researchers have said that that particular period is very important because it is the foundation. That is why, now for example, if you're going to build a building, right? For the building, for the building, whole building to be strong, you have to lay the foundation. I mean, better. The foundation has to be solid and strong. If the foundation is weak, okay, say in a building, you build the foundation is weak, it's not built properly. What do you think will happen to the building once it's built? The whole building because the foundation is not good, right? So similarly, just like that, even for students, for children, for basically individuals, their foundation has to be strong, their foundation has to be solid. So that foundation is what? Which period in a person's life? It is the early childhood years, right? So who do you think is plays the role of making that foundation strong? Who does that role? Who plays that role? Basically here, I mean, parents, and then of course it is teachers, right?
Teachers.
Teachers have to lay that strong foundation. So it is it is, I mean, your responsibility and our responsibility to make that foundation strong for children, right? Because it is said the brain basically develops and they learn a lot of things at that age, and later on that only keeps developing. But generally, now here, what the idea that most of the people have is what they think, okay, they're kids, they don't understand, they're just still small. When they grow up, we can teach them. They basically have the idea that they don't understand anything because they're children, they're kids, right? But that is a wrong notion, a wrong idea that people have. Okay. Because the foundation has to be strong, and researchers have found out that kids, they understand and they learn so much better when they are at this particular age. So that is when, as teachers, as parents, we have to, teach them the right thing and make sure that their foundation is actually, proper. Okay. So did you understand that part?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll be, going on as to how and what we should do, but I'm just trying to, focus on that part. Okay, just a small introduction for this early childhood part. And then next we have the next module is more about history of early childhood education, right? So of how, you have certain personalities who contributed to this particular domain of early childhood education, right? We have, like philosophers and psychologists like Sigmund Freud, Jean Piaget. Have you heard of them?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Sigmund Freud. So we'll be discussing more about that in detail as we go on. Okay. And also there's another main person who is, always interconnected with early childhood education. So she is Maria Montessori. What do you know about her? Anything that you know? Have you heard of Maria Montessori?
Yes.
Rasmina? Yeah. Who is she?
She's a person.
Yes. She? Who is she? The Montessori method. Did you learn all that?
Yes, I
Yes. Maria
learned.
Montessori. Okay, but it's just that you don't remember. Okay, fine. Let's recall. So Maria Montessori, she is basically from Italy, right? And she is the founder of this Montessori method. What is this Montessori method? Have you heard of anything about that?
No.
No? Okay, fine. So basically, no. Have you heard of AMI method or Montessori method? Okay, fine. So now basically, Montessori means generally in our terms, right? In our society, or basically all of us, we think when we say Montessori, okay, is your child going to a Montessori? Is she going to a Montessori? So we believe that Montessori is like kindergarten for primary, preschool. We just call it Montessori, right? Any nursery or any kindergarten, we just call it Montessori, right? Is that girl going to a Montessori? Have you started that is the general norm that we have, right? But actually speaking, this Montessori is actually, it is something different, not what we think, right? So Maria Montessori is one of the famous personalities. She's a physician by profession. She was the one who started this Montessori method. It's completely different from kindergarten or from this LKG, what we call, we have that notion of Montessori. It is not that. Do you get what I'm saying, Rasmina?
Yes.
Am I too far? Okay, so it is different, right? So this particular so Maria Montessori, she has her own set of ways of teaching. She has certain methods. That is what is actually called Montessori, the Montessori method. It was named after her, right? She has certain tools that she uses to teach children, and completely different from the early childhood way of teaching. That is, it was basically named after her, right? So here you could see, so the Montessori method of education, right? So it's completely a different method. Okay. She believes, now this Maria Montessori, she believes that children need to be given like independent learning, that they have to learn on their own. They should be given the chance to discover and explore the world, that kind of learning, right? Whereas it's not that the teachers have to always be behind them. They should be given to explore, and that kind of a different attitude was brought out by this lady, Maria Montessori. So that was why it was named as the Montessori method. Okay, it's completely different from the preschool, but we won't be touching more on that as to how you'll be doing the Montessori method, because yours is more towards early childhood, right? Just a little, so that you have an idea of what this Montessori method is, right? So for that, we'll be doing a little about that. Okay.
Okay.
Did you get that part, Rasmina?
Yes.
Okay, right. So that is basically a little. So I'm just basically going through just the the introduction as to what your modules are about. So we'll be discussing it in detail later as we go on. Okay. So that was a little about that, and then we have something called the child development. Okay, child development from 0 to 3 years. So this is basically, in this module you will be learning the importance of children who are from 0 to 3 years, like as we discussed earlier at the beginning. I was telling you about the foundation and all that, so something similar. Okay, so this module
Okay.
will be learning more of how how children learn at this particular age from 0 to 3, right? And how it is very important how their brain works, how as teachers we should teach them, right? So that is what we'll be focusing on this particular module, that is the child development period from 0 to 3 years, right? How critical it is at this time for children to learn the right thing. Okay. About that. Okay, and then we have this another theory, that is Jean Piaget. Have you heard of Jean Piaget?
No.
You haven't heard? Okay. Because Jean Piaget, he is also another psychologist. He's one of the main person behind all this, right? Especially learning. He has come up with a lot of learning theories, then developmental theories, how children's mind works and all that, right? So basically he has one of his theory that he has is stages of development. Okay, he has his theory of how his how as children their development take place, right? How it takes place. Okay, so you can see the screen, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yes.
can you see sensory motor, then pre-operational, so certain periods of children from birth to 18 to 24 months. So basically this is one of his theory. So I just want to give you a small idea of what it is. So as we go on, we will be discussing in detail, right, as to what this is about. So that will be better. I'm just giving you just an introduction, just an idea, so that you have some sort of idea. Okay, so just remember Jean Piaget, and this is one of his theories that we will be learning, right? So he says now that he has divided this into 4 stages: sensory motor, pre-operational, concrete operational, and formal operational, right? And how children they develop from birth to 18 to 24 months. If it's 24 months, how many years is it? How old is the baby? Is it
2 years.
yes, 2 years, right? So that at that particular period, children they start to understand that their objects exist around, right? They start to visualize things. They start to kind of feel that, okay, there are things around, that there are objects around, that things exist, right? They start to see and they start to learn. It is from that period, right? 0 to 2. And then from 2 to 7 years, that is pre-operational, they start to believe, or they start to kind of grasp this idea of symbolic thought. What do you mean by symbolic thought? What is symbol? What is a symbol?
The objects they feel, they start to like touch and feel the object.
Yeah, yes. And also they kind of understand that there is more like of a symbol. What does that mean? Abstract symbol. What does that mean? That is like you basically have a symbol. That means now they start to learn to use words at this particular period, right? So they understand, okay, ball or apple. Okay, so that is what we say. They understand, okay, you have to connect it. So B for ball. So that is a symbol basically, right?
Ah,
And they
okay, the
start
name of the
developing.
object.
Yeah, it's more like names of objects, that there's a symbol to this, right? They start more symbolically to learn, right? To use just went off. Sorry about that. All right. So yeah, we were talking. Rasmina, you're there, right? You can hear me.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm really sorry about that. All right. So we were discussing about Jean Piaget. All right. So yeah, concrete operational. What did I say that was about?
Symbolic thought.
Yes,
You're saying.
Yeah, that is pre-operational. Yes, 2 to 7 years, right? Yeah, that is symbolic thought. And then concrete operational, that is 7 to 11 years. Okay, the next stage. So concrete operational, what happens to children?
They ask about the object, keep on questioning.
Yeah, so basically their thoughts become more logical, right? And they start reasoning, right? They want to reason things. They want to ask questions, right? So that particular period, okay? And then the next one, the last stage, is formal operational. So formal operational is adolescence to adulthood, right? From 12 years to adulthood. So then they obviously the thinking becomes more mature and they start, they kind of understand abstract concepts. What do you mean by abstract? What is abstract? Any idea? Abstract is something that we can't touch, right? But we can feel, like, friendship, beauty, kindness. So formal operational, they start understanding these abstract concepts. So this is just a gist of Jean Piaget's development theory. Okay. So this is just a little of that. We'll be discussing it in detail as we go on. But did you understand this part?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay. Right. So they have 4 stages: sensory motor, pre-operational, concrete operational, and formal operational, right? I'll also be sending this slide to you so that you could get a better idea. Okay. Right. So the next module that you have is assessment. Okay. So assessment. What do you mean by an assessment? Do you have any idea? You would have done a lot of assessment tests at school, I believe. What do you mean by an
Yeah.
assessment? Yeah. What do you mean by that?
Assessment is done to
Yes. Why do they have assessment tests at school?
improve our skills more.
Yes. To improve. Yeah. It is also basically to assess. What do you mean by the word assess? Assessing. Assess means what? Assess is to check, is to test where you are, what your standard is, right? So you basically have an assessment tool that is to check. So it is used as a tool to check, to test your standard, right? So it could generally be, mostly they have these assessment tools at the beginning of a course, or maybe, in the middle, right? So that is to assess, okay? To check
Okay.
where the student is, that is to check the standard of the student, to check the level of the student, right? To get information, details about the student. Why do you think the teacher needs to get all these details about the students? About why does the teacher have to assess this student? Why do you have these assessment tools?
Because to check the students how deeply they are clear into the subject.
Yeah, so only to check. So why do they need to check? Is only if the teacher has a rough idea as to where the student is. That means to check the level. Only if the teacher knows this is the level of the student, then what? The teacher can teach accordingly. Did you understand? Only the teacher has to know the
Yes.
level of the student. Based on the level, only the teacher could actually teach. The teacher knows, okay, this is the level, so the teacher has to teach accordingly. But if the teacher doesn't know the level or the standard of the student, and the teacher goes on to teach high things, then do you think the student would understand? No, right? So that is why we have these assessment tools, that is to assess the standard and the level of the students. Okay, now, like how I assess, I just asked you, okay, what did you do? You said you did your O levels, and then you said you did your foundation. So then I asked you, was it on early childhood, right? So that, for example, that is a way of assessing. So then I know, okay, you have some kind of background information on early childhood because you did your foundation level of that, right? So basically, we have in schools as teachers, we have to give these assessment tools for students, so that for teachers to actually know the level of the student and to teach accordingly, right? So what kind of assessment tools could you give to students? What are the ways of test assessing? Yes.
You mean for the Montessori kids?
Yes. Early childhood. Yeah.
The sensorial materials.
Yes, you could give some. Okay. Yes. What else? You could also give a lot of activities, right? Worksheets could be given, right? So
Okay.
sensorial tools, we give it, that is in Montessori method to teach, right? And then to assess, yeah, you could also tell them to repeat whatever that they taught. And then you give activities, right? So we'll be doing, so this is basically just an introduction, as I told you. So we'll be doing a lot on assessments and what kind of assessments could be given to students, right? The importance of it, the different assessment methods, and all that we'll be discussing, right? So this is just an introduction, okay? And then moving on, we have this other part called evaluation. So we have assessment and evaluation. What do you mean by evaluation?
Tests.
Okay. Yes. So assessment is also a test. So what is evaluation? Yeah. Yes.
Evaluation.
Evaluation is, yeah, it's a test, yes, but it is mostly done at the end of the course, right? Why do you have to do it at the end of the course? Why do we have these tests at the end, or an exam or a test at the end of the course? Why?
To check the student.
Yeah, so that is now basically, if 1 year of teaching, right? You teach kindergarten, whatever, 1 year, and then you check what? You check if the students have actually attained the particular targets, if they have attained particular goals that the teacher wanted to achieve, right? So basically, for example, this particular module that this particular course that we are doing now, at the end you will be having an exam. Why do you have an exam? That is to check if you have understood whatever that was taught, right? So that is the goal, for you to understand, for you to implement. So to check that, we have an assessment at the end, we have an exam, right? So that is what we call evaluation. Evaluation is done at the end, right? So now when it comes to early childhood, when it comes to kids, students, we have these exams at the end, we have, and then we check whether they actually understood what was taught, right? Now this Maria Montessori, of course, she kind of went against this standardized tests where you give marks and all that. She is a little against that, right? The grading system and the marking system for kids, that you shouldn't have it, right? So this is generally the idea of assessment and evaluation. Did you understand?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I'm just going through it a bit quickly. We're running out of time. And then the next module you have is classroom management, right? What is classroom management? Yes. Classroom management is again how how the teacher basically manages the whole class, right? So it includes, everything. That is the way the teacher has set the classroom, that is the physical setup of the class, right? How everything has to be orderly kept, and from the furniture to the tools to how the teacher has to keep everything, arrange everything properly, right? And how the teacher manages the whole classroom, because there'll be a lot of students with different needs and different kinds of students, right? So how the teacher manages all the students and to ensure that she teaches well, right? So it includes everything, classroom management. Okay, so we'll be learning a lot in detail as we go on, right? This whole module on how to do it, the ways of managing the class and the importance of it, how if the teacher manages the class, then how it could impact the students, right? We'll be learning a lot on classroom management. Okay, so I'm just giving you a rough idea, right? And then moving on, the next module is curriculum planning. So what is this curriculum? What do you mean by a curriculum?
The lessons done by the
Yes,
teachers to
yeah,
students.
yes. Yes, it is more like the syllabus, we call it, right? Or the curriculum. What kind of lessons that just, will that we could teach the students, right? The syllabus, the kind of activities that we're going to give and all that, right? So we'll be learning in this particular module as to how, as teachers, we should design a curriculum, right? And the importance of it, okay? So that means teachers, they have to know the level of the students, and according to the level of the students only, they need to plan the curriculum, right? So that is this particular module. And then the next module is on technology, right? Technology for young children. So, yeah, what do you know of technology? Yes, is technology important?
Young children, no, right?
Yeah, yes. Yeah, what did you say?
Uh, for young children, it's not important, right?
Okay. Okay, that is your idea. Okay, right. So considering the current situation now, the pandemic, how are children supposed to learn? Now, considering the pandemic, there's no physical classes. So even young children, how are they supposed to learn? How are they learning right now?
Technology.
Obviously, technology. Now, we can't say that young children don't need technology. They are like, it's now, considering the current situation, because of the pandemic, everything has become digitalized, and we have to live with technology basically, right? Even everyone who are having physical classes now all shifted to technology. They have to depend on technology. Why? Because that is the need. Because the current pandemic has, made such a drastic change into, the lifestyles of people, right? So yeah, so specifically now you can't say that for young children technology is not needed. It has basically become a necessity now, essential, right? So yeah, so this module will be learning a lot on, technological tools that the teachers can use and how they could use technology to teach children. Then again, the positives and the drawbacks of it, right? We'll be learning a lot about this in detail, right? And then the next module is about safety, health, hygiene, and nutrition. Okay. So this module, it is mainly focusing on the safety and the health of the children. Okay. So how as teachers, they have to focus on students' health and their mental health, their hygiene and everything, not only on the academics, not only on the lessons, right? But about the, mental health, hygiene, safety, the teacher, as a teacher, they have to, focus on that as well. Okay. So this module, we'll be learning a lot about that, right? I'm just giving you an idea. Did you get it, Rasmina?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. And then moving on, this is the last module that you have, that is working with families and communities. So as a teacher, it is not that the teacher has to only work with the students alone, but I mean, a teacher has to work with, families and communities as well. That is, the teacher has to have a strong bond between the students' parents, right? So why do you think the teacher has to have a bond with the parents? Do they have to have a connection?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, why? Why? So, yeah, because it is basically, it's something very important, right? Only if the teacher has a strong connection with the parents, then what will happen? That will ensure that the students also, learn better, because the student knows, okay, teacher and my teacher and my parents have a bond. So when the parents also get connected with the teachers, then they understand, okay, what is going on. They understand what's happening at school. So accordingly, they would also, cooperate with the teacher. They would also make sure that they teach the students, or whatever that whatever that is given, maybe as homework, they would look into it. They would help, right? So it is very important that parents also need to have some sort of involvement in their students' learning, and that teachers and parents need to have a very strong bond, right? So this module will be discussing on how, as teachers, you should, have the strong bond with families and communities, how that could be done, and all that we will be discussing in this particular module, right? So yeah, that is basically the end of, these are your modules, right? So I was just giving you an introduction. Okay. Yeah. So did you understand, Rasmina?
Yes.
Okay, so you basically have these 10 modules, and we'll be discussing each module, separately. Okay. Are you sure? You do you have any questions